I mean, it must feel like a heavy burden, just like you. I mean, well, the one thing you mentioned is the biological clock, but I think more importantly is just the fear that comes from being pregnant in the workplace. Also,
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine how challenging it might be because even though everyone says we create equal opportunity and stuff like that, but the moment someone is pregnant, I wonder
Mm-hmm.
how it must really affect management's view on promotion and stuff like that, because there's going to be a maternity leave gap, and all these challenges probably contribute to that fear and stuff like that. So I suppose my next question is,
Mm-hmm.
since there are so many things that are outside of our realm of control, how can women really counter that and empower themselves so that they, regardless of circumstance, can
Mm-hmm.
feel that they have the ability to make that positive change for themselves?
Absolutely. And this is a great question, something that so many women ask and crave, or too scared to ask, and inside are like, oh, what do I do? And I think one of the most and the key thing that you can do, and something I wish I had done at an earlier stage in my career, is find a mentor, a sponsor, or a coach. I mean, it's just so many like different crazy things going on in the workspace and in life, and they don't call it work-life balance anymore. It's work-life integration, especially now we're working from home and everything. So, and you need someone who is a professional, who is more experienced with you and knowledge in this way, to kind of help guide you and give you some good advice about what potentially you should or shouldn't do, and also illuminate and help you see a different way of looking at things. Because when you're caught up in your world, sometimes you can get caught up with so going on, you can fail to see other options or other avenues. You need someone else who can look in and can be like, okay, this is what's happening, this is what you can do, this is how things are. And that can be so like liberating to kind of talk it out with someone who has your genuine best interest at heart. And I just want to point out, this is different from a family friend or relative. Now, family, friends, relatives definitely have your best interests at heart. Most of them have your best interests at heart, but it's really important to get a professional who understands what's going on and you can explain what you want to do. Because I think a lot of people, what they also say, and it comes back to your previous question, or maybe why women have the more fear and the less confidence, is because their family and friends sometimes aren't rooting for them enough and aren't pushing them enough because they don't have that experience, or they feel they can't do it. It's like, this is too risky, don't do it, don't do this. And so sometimes, although they kind of have your best interest at heart, they're not going to get you to where you want to be or how much that you can achieve. You can achieve so much more. And that's why it's important to have someone outside of that circle. It's important to have someone more in the corporate circle, or someone has a coach or someone has experience in the corporate place who can be like, okay, these are your options and this is what you can do. And that can really help you, empower you. They can give you confidence, they can give you techniques. A lot of corporate companies, especially the big ones, do have kind of in-house confidence courses online, or training courses, or they match you up to someone in the company who could be beneficial to you. And I would really kind of seek that out. And if the company don't do it, my advice would be, you go and seek them out, right? Like if you're working somewhere and you see someone and you're like, oh my God, she's amazing, I wanna be like her, like email her. I can guarantee you 9 times out of 10, they will respond, because they would have been where you are, especially if it's a woman. They would have been where you are, and they will be flattered that you are looking up to them and asking them. And if someone did it to me, I would be flattered. I'd be like, I've been where you are, I can help you, and share some wisdom and some bites like that. A lot of people are kind of scared. They're kind of looking in silence and being like, oh, I'm too scared to do it. But you know what? This is it. Like, you got to face your fears. I mean, that could be one decision away from something awesome, like an awesome connection. So very, very important, that step, and something I wish I had done earlier.
What So getting of figuring out like who's a good coach or a mentor
Mm-hmm.
or someone you can lean on, I suppose is the easy part, but finding them may not always be, because not all I mean it's easy enough if maybe you see someone in the workplace and maybe the only challenge is getting over the fear to reach out to them. But
Yeah.
not all women, I assume, would have that luxury of having, these people readily available. So how can they go about finding them?
Yeah, no, this is a really, really, really good point. And you're right, it doesn't always have to be in the workplace. That's a kind of initial place to start. And some places, some instances where people aren't making good use of it because they're scared to ask. So that would be the first one. Like, get the courage, go and ask, and that'd be great. The second one, where a lot of people find a lot of success in finding a mentor or coach, is like joining groups, clubs, organizations. And this can be in work and outside of work. Like, I've met people who are like, that's why it's really important to have hobbies. I'm really good at tennis. I play tennis. I joined a tennis club, and I met someone there who is now going to be my mentor. So she works in a different company, but she's experienced and she's done some awesome things in her life, and she's a really good sounding board for me to talk to about certain things or challenges I'm going through. So I think definitely joining groups and organizations inside of work, outside of work, doesn't necessarily have to be career based, because career people have hobbies as well, right? We hang out in all different places. We're not just only work people. And if
Yeah.
you are only work people, then I urge you to get a hobby and definitely do something else outside of the workspace to make you whole and happy. So definitely look into things like that. I think if you have children or anything like that, there's a lot of stuff in the schools here that have kind of parent clubs and stuff. When you're meeting other parents, that just expands your network, and they can be something that really, really kind of helps you find those mentors and find those other people who can really, really help you. A lot of things like volunteering, community service. This is done in work. A lot of people in work have community service, but even outside of work, there's a host of stuff here that you can do. And everyone wants to give back to the community, do community service. You can meet a lot of great people there who would be awesome mentors. I mean, there's some brilliant people who've got some great stories who can really be a great sounding board for you for your kind of concerns and help you kind of manage the crazy thing called life, basically.
Yeah.
So those are a couple of things. I think even LinkedIn, even if you don't know someone on LinkedIn, you could kind of do some research about them. So say I didn't know you, but I've been looking at you on LinkedIn. I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. This guy's got really cool stuff. So a bit of IT. He's like working in WeWork. He's doing all this stuff. I feel like he could be a really good connection for me. And what I do is I look at what you do. I'd read thoroughly about you, and I'd kind of contact you, be like, hey, I see you do this and this. I'm really interested in this. I also do this. So find some connection with both of you. It'd be really good if I could just have 15 minutes of your time. I'd love to ask you something or buy you coffee or something like that, where you can do it. So that's kind of more of a cold way of doing it, but it does work. I have seen it work. So it's just other options for you to try and find those awesome mentors.